Hello, I am Ankit Chauhan, a mechanical engineer by qualification, and you are watching Gyan Basket. Human mind is inquisitive, curious to find answers to questions like what, why, and how. Answer to these questions only has led the mankind to where it stands today. In the present era, science and technology are built into the DNA of human beings. However, it was not the same in past. Wherein we have Google Maps to show us that Earth is round, but earlier it was only until somewhere in between 1507 to 1515 when Nicholas Copernicus, the Polish astronomer, first coined the idea of a round Earth and that all planets revolve around the sun. However, it was only a theory at that time and he could not prove it. His theory was later proved correct by Galileo, the famous Italian physicist and astronomer, with his invention of telescope in 1609, for which he was put in house arrest for his entire life by the Roman Catholic Church in after 1632, because the earlier belief was that the Earth was the center of the universe, which was obviously wrong, and eventually science found its way ahead. So let us analyze the impact of inventions that changed the world, and the first one I want to discuss about it is the engines, the prime mover. Engines have become synonymous with the idea of growth and prosperity. It is also known as the prime mover and is at the heart of any movable system, both theoretically, practically, and figuratively. Right from having buses for bullocks and bikes for horses, humanity has come a long way when it comes to transportation. And not only personal transportation, but transportation of almost anything to anywhere in the world is what has made a great deal of difference in the present day transformation, driving economic and social imperatives of the world. In this category of the series and in this video, I would walk you through 3 different types of engines which have broken the barriers and set the new normal for the generations to come. These engines are steam engine, internal combustion engine, and jet engines. The first one I would like to mention about in this video is the internal combustion engine. Even though steam engine was invented earlier than IC engine in 1776, I would prefer to cover it in the next video with lot of historical milestones. Alright, the origin. The idea of internal combustion engines originated when Rudolf Clausius and William Thomson, the German and Scottish mathematician and physicists, in 1850 explicitly made the discovery of first and second law of thermodynamics. The first law, which was also came to be known as the principle of conservation of energy, meant that total energy is conserved and it can never be produced. It can only be transformed from one form to another. The idea behind in simple terms is that heat energy, which is a raw form of energy, when channelized, can be converted into a useful work and vice versa. And the second law of thermodynamics is a physical law based on universal experience concerning heat and energy interconversions. One simple statement of the law is that heat always moves from hotter objects to the colder objects, unless energy in some form is supplied to reverse the direction of heat flow. With the development of thermodynamic laws, concept of heat engine and refrigerations were developed. The theory devised the idea for an operating system working on a thermodynamic cycle which will produce work. Thereafter, the idea to develop this law into workable medium did very much became the focal point of various physicists and mechanical engineers of that era. And then, the first commercially successful internal combustion engine was created by a Belgian inventor Etne Lenoir in around 1860. And the first modern internal combustion engine known as the Otto engine was created in 1876 by German inventor Nicholas Otto. Lenoir invented a 2-stroke engine and Otto invented a 4-stroke engine. In both the versions, the compressed air with fuel combustible mixture was pumped inside a combustion chamber and were timed to burn with the help of a spark plug or simply due to compression ignition. The resultant burning of gases in a closed chamber resulted in power strokes, and the resultant gases were exhausted and the cycle repeated again. So the era from 1850 to 1900 was more or less a primary development era of IC engines. The efficiency was further increased with the use of liquid fuel gasoline in the Otto cycle, because of which storage of fuel also became more practical for longer distances and it had more calorific value also when compared to Lenoir based engine in which the fuel used was primarily coal gas, steam and air mixture. Here it is also pertinent to mention that the gasoline is a byproduct of crude oil which was dug in 1859 in Pennsylvania, USA, and gasoline was extracted from it. These discoveries and inventions were revolutionary and the technology was then heading towards becoming the #1 mode of transportation in the 19th century. The Industrial Revolution, which approximately lasted from late 1700s to early 1800th century, had contributed significantly in the scientific awakening among the masses, and the demand was instantly felt to revolutionize the industrial activity of primary European and North American countries. Industrial impact of internal combustion engines. Invention of IC engines gave human beings to control power and its useful generation. Therefore, use of IC engines found its applicability in many other inventions like automobiles and power generation machines. The development of the internal combustion engine helped to free men from hardest manual labor. Mass production of spares for industry within a small amount of time became possible. Faster means of transportation fueled the economic activity productivity coupled with the development of an ecosystem primarily derived by the IC engines. Inventions of crane made it possible to make high-rise buildings leading to massive urbanization, and invention of road roller made it possible to make longer stretches of plain and smooth roads, cutting down fuel consumptions. Inventions of tractor made it possible to farm big land masses within no time, thereby leading to sharp rise in agricultural productivity. All at the heart of these machines had IC engines as the prime mover. Use of IC engines in world wars. Soon the IC engines found its applicability in invention of battle tanks and motorized trucks to carry troops in the World War I. By the time Second World War began, a lot of advancements were made in the battle tanks, military trucks and vehicles. Huge investments were made in order to have superior grade quality of engines with more durability and longer range. Social impact. Post-World Wars, many private companies saw business opportunities in developing the automobiles for personal transportation, and that was a time when some of the present-day companies like Peugeot, Mercedes-Benz, Renault, Land Rover and Cadillac were founded. These companies ventured into the development of the cars, and by the end of 1940s, the cars and as well as the motorbikes were the new obsession of the world. With the advent of urbanization in many US and European cities after the World Wars, the automobile manufacturers started to manufacture heavy vehicles like buses and trucks and light vehicles like cars and bikes for all classes of society. The elite who could afford used to own the cars and bikes, and the less privileged managed with the public transport. The cities as we see today, the buildings, bridges, power, transportation, marine or road transport and even rail connectivity have been developed within the ecosystem of IC engines, so much so that we are not used to live without it. IC engine ecosystem. The economic derivatives of any country comes from the development of its basic to advanced infrastructure ranging from road connectivity from far-flung areas to services related to urbanization. Today, with the advancement of technology, the IC engines have become highly efficient and more user-friendly. Primary earth mover machines making tunnels by cutting right under the busy streets of cities, excavators flowing through the heart of the river beds to excavate sand and other raw materials for construction purposes, and also to find oil from the seabed, or big marine cargo ships transporting goods from one part of the world to the other, or the cars, buses, trucks and bikes running around us, all forms a part of the IC engine ecosystem. The automobile sector. The automobile sector is primarily driven by the domestic used cars and bikes, which not only brings comfort to the owner but also brings employment opportunities along with it. For example, a car company X, in addition to its own business and employees, will also require sub-assemblies and components of the car from the other bank-to-bank company Y, which again, before supplying the finished good to the company X, will be required to source raw material for construction for company Z, which again, before supplying the finished good to the company X, will be required to source raw materials for construction from company Z. And likewise, whole sector is developed. Additionally, the banks will offer loan to the customer for purchasing automobiles, for which they will charge interest and earn profit. Also, the insurance companies will pitch in with their range of products and will also be sold to the customer. The government in return will collect road tax from the customer, thereby increasing the government profit, which the government will utilize for other development purpose and employment opportunities. So there are many indirect economic derivatives with the automobile sector, for which we just did a small case study, and likewise there are many other fields wherein the IC engines are actually the prime mover of the economy as well. Future of IC engines. The downside. There is a flood of cars, bikes, trucks and buses rolling around the cities, and diesel electric trains and marine cargo ships running across the globe. There is no doubt that IC engines have significantly contributed in shaping the world as we see today, but it comes at its own cost. Let's have a look at the downside of the IC engines. Number 1. Increased traffic jams and noise pollutions. Gone are the days when major cities of the world used to be filled with the historical heritage and geographical uniqueness, because the same is now embedded beneath the heavy traffic jams and noise pollution. This is the condition of almost each and every major cities across the world. Number 2. Increased air pollution. IC engines run by burning gasoline or diesel. Both types of these engines emit greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxides as exhaust gases, which are the primary source of pollution of our atmosphere. Number 3. Rising average global temperatures. These gases, when released into the atmosphere, especially carbon dioxide, results in heat trap of terrestrial radiations, resulting in reduced discharge of heat back into the outer space, because of which Earth is not cooling off as it should be, thereby resulting in overall rise in average global temperatures. Number 4. Increasing droughts and floods. Due to the effect of global warming, there is visible change in climatic patterns. We are observing more and more severe droughts in some part of the world and more severe flash floods and incidences of unexpected occurrences of cyclonic activities on the other. Conclusion. There is no doubt that IC engines have climbed the peak of its utility since its inception in the practical world. The mankind has undoubtedly overused one of the most invaluable inventions in the history to severely exploit the natural resources of the earth, but because of the adverse effects of its use on the atmosphere and depleting oil reserves, definitely demands migration to the alternate technologies like electric vehicles, which are cleaner and more sustainable for future generations, thereby limiting its use to only few critical critical heavy-duty machineries meant to serve only specific purposes. Thank you. I hope you must have liked the video. If so, please like, subscribe and share your opinions in the comment section.